on tight, spider monkeys. It is Twilight week on We'll Throw the After Party. I am so excited for this evening. This is truly my Super Bowl. And I am thrilled that I get to share it with all of you and with you too, Marissa and Alexis. And Sly is kind of with us behind the scenes in tonight's episode. And I'm sure that if we're being rowdy enough, Sly may appear in the comments from time to time. But for the next 2 hours, it is Alexis, Marissa, and Liz. I just say Alexis, Marissa, and Sly, but it's Liz, it's me, talking about Twilight for the next 2 hours. I'm thrilled. Welcome, Alexis and Marissa. How are we doing this evening? Marissa, you have a Twilight-themed background as well, which is a very important point we're going to get to later in the evening.
Usually, no, I don't want to give any.
No,
I'm here. I'm here, and I have coffee that I need.
Cheers.
And I'm very excited.
Cheers. Alexis, cheers. Yeah, I love it. Alexis, you are also here this evening. You got a juice pouch? A juice, it's on a box.
It's a Capri Sun.
We love it. You are here, and that is great. And I'm not going to ask you how you're doing, but I am going to ask if you're excited to talk about Twilight this evening.
I don't know that excited is the word I would use to label my emotion, but I'm excited to be here with you. How's that?
Brilliant. I'll take it. Welcome to everybody watching. Hello to Leah. Hello to JJ. I'm glad you appreciated the spider monkey joke and that you were here early enough to catch it. Am I in my new hair era? Shout out Colleen who fixed up my hair for me. I don't know why when Colleen does it, all the color comes back out. When I do it, it never looks like this. So thanks, girl. Love coming to the show with my hair feeling like a little bit alive for a change. Unlike all the cast of this movie who do not feel alive. Bam, bam. And that is a joke about vampires. You can take a drink if you're going to count how many horrible jokes I make throughout the next 2 hours. It's truly been a week. And what I've been enjoying this week specifically happened today. And it was Marissa's incredible work to promote tonight's episode with a meme catalog to end all meme catalogs. I would like to take a minute and just go through if you missed any of the posts from this evening. And we can give Marissa a big round of tacos in the chat. You started strong with I know what you're throwing. Say it out loud. The after party, which made me cackle when he posted this, but never did I expect it was going to be followed with a personalized meme saga that began with Alexis defending Bucky Bart's fictional cat. Alexis, did you see this one coming?
I saw this one in my inbox. Can you hear me? It's my mic. Yeah. I saw that one in my inbox and cackled, but I was at work when it came through. So there were other people around me and I was just like, yeah.
Well, nothing I love more than when things from this show interrupt my work life and then someone asks me what's so funny and I'm like, there's far too many layers for me to explain it because
I can't even begin it's like national treasure, right? It's like there are so many steps to get to. Marissa posted a funny
Let me take
meme.
you back 2 years to the start of it. So then it was followed with Sly when they found out we were watching Twilight, which if you go on our Twitter, we post a highlight reel from the episode every week and you can see the moment that is being compared to this shot. It's truly glorious. Chef's kiss. And at this point, I need it on the record that I was beginning to sweat because I realized what Marissa was doing and I knew that I was going to have a particularly saucy take since it's my week and Marissa loves me so dearly. So I was on the edge of my seat. But I had 2 hours to wait because I also know Marissa as she is my wife and I knew she was going to post her meme next and make me wait. Am I wrong?
No. I knew from the beginning you were going to be the last one.
So she goes with this. Marissa ready to point out every wig in Twilight, which did you find the images first and add the text later, or what was the process?
Some of them I found first. It was kind of hard because it's for the internet a relatively old movie, so there weren't a great cache of like reaction photos as there are for like Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, Marvel. Like all you got to do is Google Harry Styles reaction pic and you get like 25 weird faces. So it was a bit more of a search for Twilight, but some of them I found first. And some of them I was like, oh, that kind of works for something that I could do, but like I needed to find something more specific. So originally mine was Emmett running in the baseball scene.
Yes.
So it was like still the like weird, creepy vampire running. But I realized after I made it that everyone else's, spoiler alert, was Edward. And so I tried to find one of Edward running. And unfortunately, that means we get Edward in like Eclipse, I think.
But it worked for me. Honestly, I think this is more than sufficient. Plus, he has that good, like Bridgerton style sideburn situation happening in that shot.
Yeah, the sideburns get aggressive.
They really do. And we're going to talk, we have a whole wig section for tonight planned. So for everyone that knows, if this is not your first after party, you know we take wigs very seriously on this show. And this is probably, I think, going to be our most serious wigs conversation we've ever had, considering we have canon to back it up.
In part, yeah.
And with that, Marissa posts this meme, which is so fantastic. I did decide to make it my background for this evening. So thank you for the virtual background choice, Marissa. I think you nailed it.
It looks like you are Edward, and
well, that's
Bella is writing you.
That's me. I'm in full chaos mode. It's Twilight night. Okay. And then the last meme that Marissa posted. Slay, which the face really says it all. So a round of tacos in the chat, please, to Marissa's absolutely incredible efforts for this evening.
I knew I wanted to use the ketchup bottle, but I knew I wanted it to be something that we said. Like something that somebody said, but I couldn't think of something that was like so ineffective because it's such like the ketchup never comes out of the bottle and her face is deadpan. So it had to be something that like we didn't actually say like passionately. And like I think we can all agree that slay has become an overused term on this show.
And yet we have 2 segments named after
we'll
it.
Never stop.
Never stop, never stopping. I'm obsessed. It was not our only meme drop this week, though. And I want to say something that I figured out while preparing for the show, which is this is one of the first callback segments we have ever had the pleasure of doing. It was Spotify Wrapped Week. And last year, we went through our Spotify Wraps as a team. And this year, it is Spotify Wrapped yet again. So that made my old heart warm knowing that this is one of the very first times that we get to do something twice as a show. So a round of tacos in the chat for doing this thing for over a year now. We did get some show-specific wraps, which if you missed them, I will walk you through now. If your top artist was Alexis, specifically Alexis typing notes in the show doc that inevitably saved the show because we collectively have no memory of anything ever. You're in the top 2% of Alexis listeners this year. So congratulations to all of you, all of us. Alexis, do you have like an award-winning acceptance speech you'd like to give?
No, except that I realized right now in this moment that me taking notes compared to you all taking notes is my observational research study compared to
Alexis overthinking the assignment, maybe.
Just not getting it ever. But anyway, yeah, thank you for acknowledging my notes for what they are, I guess.
Well, Alexis is the reason I take notes. When I found out Alexis was taking notes for every What If episode she was watching, I was like, I need to start writing this down.
And Alexis is the reason I don't take notes because I always think to myself, Alexis will probably have something written down about this, and you always have for a year straight. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We were also in the top 2% of Marissa listeners this year, and specifically Marissa talking about Into the Woods 2022 Broadway cast recording. Checks out. And you also saw Into the Woods in your Spotify Wrapped, Marissa.
Yeah. I don't know how it happened. All of my top 5 artists were pop artists. Like the first 20 of my top songs were pop songs, but my top genre was show tunes.
Tell me you're a theater kid without telling me you're a theater kid.
I did that, you know, the like Coachella, like Spotify lineup generator thing. I did that and I posted it on my TikTok, and someone made like an aggressive comment being like, "We get it, you're a theater kid." Like, okay. I know. I owned it in the like the aggro energy towards theater kids. I'm not here for. I own my show tunes top genre. Thank you.
This is a safe space, and we absolutely saw that coming for you.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Jonathan Groff was one of my top 5 artists last year. Like,
true. And that happened while we were drafting him for Rogers the Musical. So I'll digress. That's how far we've come in the course of a year. If you watch the show every week, you are also in the top 2% of listening to Liz take her inhaler every time Oscar Isaac comes up in conversation. And to that, I'd like to say, Alexis, what was the episode where I fell out of my chair? Because that is worth watching as a highlight. But I don't remember when it happened. And you don't remember? We'll figure it out. We'll post it on the Instagram later, because that was truly like peak Liz unhinged energy. I was on the floor and I couldn't get back up. Like, I got stuck on the floor because I was shocked I ended up on the floor. It was bad. Anyway, we'll post it on Instagram if you missed it. And Sly, if you were watching our show, you were also in the top 2% of listening to Sly give a listicle rant. But tonight, it's Alexis's turn to give a listicle rant. But before we get to the rants,
I'm taking back my brand.
Taking back the brand. I'm living for it. Before we get to the rants, very quickly, what have we been enjoying this week outside of Twilight and Spotify and all the good things that have happened this week? I have nothing new to report. I'm just watching the same stuff, and I'm excited for The White Lotus tomorrow night, because the last episode was like bananas, and I can't believe we have to wait a whole week for every episode, but I'm living for it. So that's me. I'm also rewatching Veep, which has been a great time. Thank you, HBO subscription, for reminding me that show exists. Marissa, what have you been enjoying this week?
I'm still on my Doctor Who rewatch. I've evolved. I finished all of the episodes I wanted to watch of David Tennant's seasons. So I'm in the Matt Smith era. And the only episodes I ever rewatch when I'm watching the Matt Smith era is the River Song arc. But I do it in my own like machete order. So I've been enjoying machete order River Song arc. It's going great. And also, huge news, I greatly enjoyed the Brett Goldstein Muppet Christmas Carol 30th anniversary exclusive interview on EW yesterday. It is a brilliant watch. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't know who Brett Goldstein is, or you've never seen the Muppets Christmas Carol, I would recommend you discover those two things as well. But purely just the interview is like peak Muppet comedy, weird, like industry insider, but also like, oh, it's so good. It was so good.
It's in my top moments of the year for like celebrity kind of special interview moment. I need a better, more snappy title for what I'm trying to say, but it's one of the best of the year.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Bobby's video on it, the afternoon special, you must find it immediately, because Bobby summarized everything in 3 very concise sentences.
Yeah, nailed it.
Alexis, what have you been enjoying this week?
Well, let's see. What have I been enjoying this week? The only one I can remember is Blue's Clues, and I know I put more than that on the list. I enjoyed doing Thirsty Thursday with JJ, which was much less about 911 than a typical Thirsty Thursday, which I felt was ironic, because I take 911 notes for myself so that I don't overburden people in my life with listening to me talk about it. So I had things to say, but instead we just talked about the bisexual life experience for like 4 hours. I also watched Blues Big City Adventure, which is the Blues Clues special that has solved all of my childhood trauma and just really expertly completed an arc that I didn't realize I needed for the past 2 decades. It really healed 7-year-old Alexis. And I largely would just like to credit that production to like some intern of the week who must have pitched like, but what if No Way Home was Blue's Clues? That was great. And I watched Leverage Redemption. I watched Leverage Redemption.
Maybe not enjoyed it, but you certainly viewed it.
I have,
Love it. A busy week for you. And I do like that for once you have a wholesome choice like Blue's Clues on your list and not just like true crime, very heavy subject matter. Like I do like a little mix for you.
I mean, I think Blue's Clues would argue that it is true crime.
It absolutely is.
Maybe that's where this whole journey started.
Oh, okay. Note that apology from me.
Wow.
Me realizing that in real time, but
no, we love just unpacking live. It's great. Let's head to some rants because we have so much Twilight to talk about. I can barely stand it. So I'm gonna pull the timer up. Marissa, what are you ranting about this evening?
Well, my rant was cruelly torn out from under me. I was informed that my rant would need to be expanded into a larger segment, so I will not be ranting about the wigs in Twilight. I will instead be ranting about how the Twilight saga fundamentally altered my brain chemistry.
It's good. It's good. I respect it. Alexis, what are you ranting about this evening?
Well, we have a little twist on my rant. So I was going to just give you a listicle of Vampire AU fan fiction that I've read that is better than Twilight. But then I forgot to make that list. So instead, I have just gone to my AO3 bookmarks and typed vampire in the search within results. And I'm just going to rate them all live.
I'm obsessed. Like, I don't want to do a rant. I just want to listen to you two talk about these things. So I'm very sad that I'm going to be wasting time this evening when you can be listening to both of those perfect rants that I could spend 2 hours listening to. And honestly, I probably will after the show. But I will be filling my 2 minutes with a live, my own kind of true crime board. I know this is Twilight night. I am talking about New Moon, so forgive me. No tap apology coming. I want to figure out live with all of you. We know that Haunted by Taylor Swift was a song that was written for New Moon. And supposedly because her and Taylor Lautner broke up, the song got like scrapped or they decided not to go with it. So I want to figure out live where that song fits in the New Moon movie. And I have some thoughts because I do think it was meant to be a song used inside of the movie because they've made way bolder choices than Taylor Swift. Okay. And with that said, I feel like I had to preface that like up front because otherwise I would lose my whole 2 minutes trying to explain this theory. Shall I start? Does anyone have a burning desire to begin this evening?
Please.
All right.
Have at it.
Have at it. I took my brand new puffer today, so I feel like my lung capacity is ready for this show. We'll see though.
Not just that. This is how strong the association is now. Liz took her inhaler and then texted all of us that she misses us because we weren't there to be with her as she took her inhaler.
I always love when I take my inhaler. That was very sad. You need to appreciate that moment with me, but needed oxygen. So what could I do? Anyway, not very vampire of me, I know, because, you know, they don't breathe. Okay. That leads to a whole other train of thought that we might get into later about vampires. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Let's talk about Taylor Swift. So this song, Haunted, I don't think it was meant to be an end credit song, nor do I think Haunted was written as like a promo song for the movie that only would have been played during the credits or whatnot, which leaves the question, where does Haunted fit in the New Moon timeline? Well, I did watch New Moon a few weeks ago, which means my knowledge is rusty, but I have a few thoughts. The first being the sequence where she's like depressed in the chair and it goes October, November, December. Like if they had an acoustic version.
Twilight broke me. The first exposure I ever had to this saga was sitting on the couch and seeing like a commercial ad for the DVD for the first film come on. I had never heard of it before. And then instantly it was taking over the world. It was everywhere. Everyone was reading it. Everyone was watching it. And I needed to know about it immediately. And so I dove head fucking first, besties. I went in.
So the first fic that has come up on my bookmarks list is Further Than Blood or Than Bones, which is by Let Me Tell You About My Feels, and it's a 911 buddy fanfic. And it is the fic that made me care about vampire lore, which is not something that I really cared about, nor was any reason that I was reading vampire fic previously. Then we have, it looks like Why Do All the Monsters Come Out at Night, which is also better than Twilight. I would give this one like a...
So the sequence when Bella's in the chair and is like, it's supposed to be like a commentary on like her mental health being so bad and those blank pages and like the book and whatnot. I feel like an acoustic version of Haunted could have fit, except I do believe that she has to be reconnected with Jacob in New Moon for that song to make sense, because she's talking about like another person and the person like that is haunting her. So that moment doesn't make sense. And the song they did use is a perfect fit. So I would not change that scene.
To be specific, this moment happened in 6th grade. I was 12 years old. It was like the perfect time for like puberty, maturity. I had just finished reading the Harry Potter books. I only read the Harry Potter books the summer before middle school. We don't need to get into that part. But I had just finished Harry Potter and like Twilight was popping off. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm too much of a baby for this. And then I like, no, my friends were into it. So I had to get into it. And I suddenly felt like an adult.
It is also a 911 buddy AU with Witch Buck and a Vampire Eddie, and it is very good, and I reread it once a week. It is better than Twilight. Then we have Vampire Banquet, which I am not remembering. So I'm going to say could be better than Twilight, could be worse than Twilight. Do not remember. Can't you see that you could set me free? Oh, not better than Twilight. We're pretending that's not on my list. Let's see.
Okay, so then we go into like the sequence of events where there's the motorcycle and then the cliff jumping. It can't happen at the end of the movie when like Edward is going to the Vulture, because like at that point she wants him back and like the haunting kind of vibe is done. Like we've completely shifted into saving Edward's life. So we know it's in like that time box period of post fixing motorcycle before like Alice comes back and they're going to Italy. I sound insane, but I love it. So I think I know what it is, because it's not the motorcycle sequence, because at that point she's looking to bring Edward back still, and he still hasn't come back.
So I had finished Harry Potter. I was in my Twilight era, and I went hard for many, many years. I think it was New Moon. It might have been Eclipse like 4 times in theaters. But then like sometime after Eclipse, it just like petered out, and I like didn't care by the time Breaking Dawn was coming out. Anyway, I believe that Twilight made me stupider because they were the only books I read for so long.
Sly is right. I did go through Vampire Banquet in that minute that I wasn't speaking, and it is better. Let's see. Oh, this one I didn't like. We're going to pretend that's not on there. That one I didn't like. We're going to pretend that. Oh, Special Blood, which is a Eureka Vampire AU. Definitely better than Twilight. Highly recommend. That one we're going to pretend isn't on my list. The Drug in Me Is You, one of my favorite vampire AU fics.
Okay,
better than
so
Twilight.
the motorcycle sequence, I think, is the lines, he will try to take away my pain and he just might make me smile, but the whole time I'm wishing he was you instead. Because that's when she sees his face and then she sees Jacob's face after she crashes the motorbike. Okay, so from then, right, she's going to the cliffs. And this is where I think the song makes sense, because she goes by herself and she's walking through the forest towards the cliff, and there is a song used there. And I think this version of the song with like the kind of bridge, I know, I just know you're not gone. You can't be gone. No. And it's getting kind of.
Then that would like the end of it. I don't know. I had like a personality shift and was like, I'm too cool for Twilight. Twilight sucks and is bad and is horrible. And I threw away all of my books and my DVDs and I got rid of everything. And then Twilight had like a renaissance and people were like, no, it's cool again. Being a fan of things isn't bad. And like, I do believe that, but I do also think that it hurt my critical thinking skills as a child, for sure.
That one was an Arrow fanfic. I'm not even going to apologize for that because if you all are here, you already know that. Can't you see that you could set me free, so sink your fangs into me? Better than Twilight, but only just. And then we have like a weird number of Buffy fanfics that I don't even remember reading. So we're just going to pretend that they're not on here. Let's see. La 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 la. Curiosity killed the cat.
I don't know how much time we're supposed to have. I think I'm supposed to stop it, but I have to say, so I need to finish my rant. Okay, I'm stopping the timer and I'm finishing what I want to say because there's a line in one of the last, like in the last chorus, right, where she says the music kind of stops and she says very, like, not loudly, but like very sternly, something's gone terribly wrong, won't finish what you started. And to me, that's the cliff sequence. It's like, you're not going to finish what you started. Like, I'm giving you every opportunity. Like, boom, we're going cliff jumping, adrenaline rush. And then she almost drowns and it's like crazy. So that's where I think Haunted fits in New Moon. I think it's that specific sequence.
I wasn't with you for like most of that. But like towards the end, I was like, no, I get it. Because like, to me, it feels very literal. Like she literally sees like a vision. I don't know what,
right?
Like a
ghost of
Edward.
Live. And she's like, what? That's all of New Moon summarized in like 2 seconds.
I mean, honestly, listen to the song Haunted and it's the plot of the movie. Like,
right? It's beautiful. And
come on, don't leave me like this. I'm haunted.
I only thought to actually Google the lyrics like 3/4 of the way through the rant and was like, I'm sure I can find the exact line I'm trying to think of. Yeah, it's incredible. Also, I fully back it's one of Taylor's best songs to that comment that this one, Haunted's one of the best songs. I agree. I think it's one of the best songs on Speak Now. And I don't know where the cameo would have been. Would have had to have been in the high school. Like, where else would she be?
I don't think this would have happened, but I think it would have been really funny if when Bella's like running through Italy, she just like knocks Taylor out of the way.
Taylor's in the tour group that goes into the Vulturi and like,
yeah,
that would have been tragic.
I needed to be in the exact place that Stephanie Myers was in this one. Like, I need that just to be like the cameo stool at the diner, and like any person that cameos in the film is just at that stool. I feel like that's a very, oh my goodness, I feel like that's a very Twilight themed thing to do.
That was the universe agreeing with you. Like, yep, that was exactly what it was.
The ghost of the house. Thank you, Ghosty.
Thank you, Ghost. We love when the ghost has hard Twilight opinions.
We do.
Okay. There's no ghost in Twilight. I can't make a transition pun with that, can I? Other than Edward kind of being a ghost. But anyway, the moment's gone. Let's talk about Twilight. No. The highlight reel for this episode is going to be particularly like unhinged of us doing it. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Why on earth would I pick Twilight? It's a very important question because I was not like diehard Twilight anything for most of my life. I was deep in the weeds of Daniel Radcliffe's Harry Potter. Like but I did see all of the movies in theater. And I have such vivid memories of seeing these movies in theaters. One, because they scarred me because they were so dark and I didn't handle like dark movies that well at the age that they were coming out for me. But this was also at a time when I know to see New Moon, my movie ticket was $6.99. And you would go to the Cineplex website. It wasn't Cineplex at that time. It was before Cineplex bought, I forget what our movie theaters were called, but this is like an old branding of the movie theater in town. The town I grew up in, the movie theater had one screen. So it was one movie at a time, and it was always the biggest blockbuster. So we would get like the Twilight movies. We had Avatar for 2 months straight. Like, it was insane. It was so bad. But Twilight, like $6.99, you'd go home, you'd buy your ticket online. They would let everyone that pre-bought their tickets in. Like, you wouldn't have to wait in like the not having a ticket line. Oh, it was great. oh, the good days of seeing a movie for like less than $10, you know? And then I remember going to see Eclipse and it was $8.99 and we were like, times are crazy. And I'm like, I wish I was paying $8.99 for a movie ticket today. So I have great memories of seeing Twilight in theaters with my friends. And I remember the moment in, spoilers if you don't know the Twilight plot, but in Breaking Dawn Part 1, when Bella's eyes open and then it's like the end of the movie, I like, that's burned into my skull because everyone was like, oh my God. Like it was like the whole movie theater was every girl at my high school being like, oh my God, this is crazy. It was very funny night. That's my history with it. It kind of came back recently for me. Is one of my best friends in the whole world. Shout out Jenny, is a huge Twilight fan. And she was like on this cycle of watching them and rewatching them and rewatching them. And she would send like Snapchat updates. And I was like, oh my God. So I'd like go and like we'd watch bits and pieces together. And then now I'm this year, like a few weeks ago, I was like, I really want to watch Twilight. But I started with New Moon because I'm not a huge fan of the first movie. And then I watched New Moon thinking I'd only watch New Moon, but I watched them all pretty well in one sitting. Except for this movie. So I was like, you know what? This is the right opportunity to go back and revisit Twilight. And you know what? I do recommend watching New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn Part 1, Breaking Dawn Part 2, and then watching the first Twilight movie. Because it was a much better experience watching this in the retrospect of the rest of the plot and not pre the rest of the plot. Like go into New Moon cold. Don't watch this movie. And then come back to it at the end. And it's just art. It's camp. It's so good. But Marissa, I know you just spent your whole rant giving us some of your history with the movie. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, not really. I think your point about like the price of movie tickets is very important though, because like there is a reason why I saw New Moon 4 times. Like
right?
It was less than $10 a viewing. And also I think it's like it was like peak, like starting to be independent. And like the one place you could go was the movie theater. And like, it was a very formative time. But I did also, I had like deep shame and like hatred for Twilight for like a really long time.
That's
like,
just the Catholicism coming out. Me too, best.
Yeah. It's so like seeing the Renaissance was like really fun. And now I think having a much more critical viewing of it, of like the messaging, the production value, the performances, like all of the above, makes it almost more fun because like you have the like heart pulley things of like, this was really important to me, but then you also have the brain being like, but it sucks. And it's like, it can be both. Porque no los dos.
Yeah. I love it. Yep.
Are you not familiar with that exceptional piece of marketing?
Nope, I'm really not. I have no idea what you just referenced.
It's
like none.
You know, like
I have no
white
idea
people talk. You know, like what white people taco nights? How you get like taco shells at the grocery store?
Yeah.
There's that pack of taco shells that has soft tacos and hard like taco shells. And the ad is this little girl being like, ¿Por qué no los dos? Because they're like, we can't have both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
No, you're right. You're right. Thank you for the refresher. I did need that. I was like, what is she saying?
I'm so sorry.
No.
It's 5 minutes to explain a reference.
It's just the Canadian. It's fine. And Sly's in the backstage sending me the link to the exact ad. Thank you, Sly. Alexis, I would love to know. I know you have a lot of history with the Twilight saga. I don't know what you would like to share, but the floor is yours to kind of introduce us to your context.
Oh God. It's interesting to me because I really feel that in a lot of ways, this book series was like the book series of my generation. Like it was the coming of age book series for a lot of people. But I was in Miss Matthews Honors English, shout out to Miss Matthews, in like the 8th grade, I want to say. And I borrowed it from her library and I read it on the bus. I was not aware that my mother did not want me to read this book. Like that had never been communicated to me. And by the time like I had brought it home and I had read, like the entire thing in like, 2 sittings, it was kind of like, well, what are we going to do? We're kind of stuck. But I think what I remember, what stands out to me most about like my Twilight journey is not the films. I don't even think I saw Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2, but is the fan fiction, which we will get into later. But I had read and written fan fiction before Twilight, but like Twilight fanfic was really on a different cultural level. I was reading it all day, every day, all the time. And my best friend in high school and I became best friends because, and at that time you didn't talk about reading fan fiction. Like it was a very like hush hush thing. But we both found out that the other was reading it. And so that our friendship basically blossomed around reading Twilight fan fiction. Which we then got to watch our mothers read romance novels of in their bunko groups with no knowledge that we had read this shit at like 15. So I will say that I used, I think it's like the first chapter from Eclipse, may have been New Moon. But Bella is in the truck and like the truck is breaking down. So she's having to put gas in the Aston Martin or the Volvo. She's putting gas in the Volvo, I think is what it is. And she has the wedding ring on her hand. She's engaged. It would have to be Eclipse. She's very annoyed about it. One of us in this chat may have done that as a state-winning acting piece. In competitive theater in high school.
It was their footage.
Wow.
There is somewhere.
We have found slime videos of you on Nickelodeon. I am sure that we can find archival footage of you doing this.
And the next year I won duet with a piece from Girl Interrupted. So 2 very different vibes. But
you never cease to amaze me, and you always shock me.
Truly.
Honestly, I wish I had that confidence now. Like, it was the piece that got me accepted into the competitive theater program at my high school. I just, with my full chest, was like, I am doing this chapter as a monologue.
I need it.
And nobody stopped me. I'm like, where is that energy now?
Can you find the footage?
I will ask my mom if she still has it.
Thank you. What's your mom's name again?
Melissa.
Melissa, I want you to watch my face when I say thank you for finding this footage for me specifically. Marissa too, I'm sure will appreciate it, but it's a need. I'm going to start bringing Melissa into some pre-show chats so she can dig up archival footage before we're on air, because I would have seen that and unpacked it live. But
we're going to need Melissa's number.
It was the time where you like recorded things on the camera and then I had to put the SD card like into the computer and burn it on DVD. But I know we have a stack of like Alexis's competitive theater.
Oh, I've never. What did you wear?
Well, to compete, I wore like a black skirt suit. And mine was vintage because I thought all the other girls looked stupid.
And just like Bella, you are not like the other girls.
But
No. Alexis is just like the other girls, which was a contender for her meme quote, might I say.
It's true. Alexis is just like the other girls, but Bella Swan is not like the other girls. And with that, we must start talking about this movie. But I do need, first and foremost, part of my history with this, which is more of my current day with Twilight, is I need to give the biggest shout out in the world to TikToks at Sarah Elizabeth _talks, whose image on TikTok is a cutout of her and Rob Pat. Sarah makes Twilight content. She is a vault of Twilight knowledge, from fanfic to canon to movies to the books to Stephanie Meyer's intentions. And like, it's, if you have any inkling to it, Alexis Blake reads comics, this is Twilight's version. This is Sarah Elizabeth Talks. Like, she's a must follow, and we're mutuals, and she just brings me so much joy. And I hope that she sees this, because I told her we were doing it. Oh, we're gonna talk about some of her content as we go through the night, because she's taught me so much about this incredible series. It's only become better because of what she's taught me. So with that, let's begin to unpack Twilight. For now, just the first movie. Maybe someday we'll move through all of them. But for tonight, just Twilight. We rebranded our Roses and Thorns segment to Fangs and Apples. I love it. And in Alexis's instance, fangs are positive and apples are negative. This is great. Alexis, I know you don't like starting, but you do have notes down and I don't. So do you want to share your apples and fangs? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. My darling, you're muted.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I just unilaterally rebranded this.
Yeah, perfect. It's perfect. It's great.
Amazing.
So my fangs, my positive was implying that disco balls kill people. Which I thought was really great. And then a big parenthetical, like I guess my runner-up would be Charlie Swan, maybe. I wrote it with confidence and then started to feel like I had maybe missed something, followed by, and the truck, definitely the truck.
Yep.
And my apples, my negative would be the weird purity metaphors that don't quite work, that I only recognized upon this viewing about halfway through because Marissa pointed it out. And all the red flags. Edward has a lot of red flags.
Only red flags.
That 15-year-old Alexis just flew right.
Oh!
Just, whew.
Absolutely.
I'm going to share my apples and fang, which I did not pre-select until I just started re-looking through my notes, but I do know what it is after looking at my notes. Because it's one thing. I have one thing that is the apple and the fang for this evening, which is, I'm just going to read it. This is in the hospital sequence. These are the following notes. And if I raise a finger, that means it was a new bullet point on my list, just for full reading comprehension. And everything I'm about to say is in capital letters. Gaslight her king. Gaslight her with so many exclamation marks. Gaslight king invented gaslighting. And then not in capital letters. Well, then I hope you like disappointment, which is a quote he says. God, Edward is the blueprint, meaning the gaslighting blueprint. And I would also like to say that above that note I had written, Twilight is for people with daddy issues. Amen. And I feel like that entire saga of my notes summarizes everything right and wrong with this series.
Wow.
I also had a note, which I have no other time to say it, so I am just going to say it now. This is in relation to the field trip. I said, these 100-year-old immortal fucks probably love a field trip. We get on the bus of vroom vroom, vampires on the go. And I was fully sober when I wrote that sentence. And I just needed the world to know that it was in fact one of my deep critical thoughts of this movie. We vampires on the go, vroom vroom.
I feel like Vampires on the Go, vroom vroom is like the toddler version of Monster High. Like it's like Magic School Bus, but with monsters. In my trends of creating children's programming I'm
obsessed
on our not child appropriate life.
There is a Disney Junior vampire. Her name is Vampirella, and she has bat wings for hair, or she doesn't have hair and she has bat wings instead. I'm really not clear, but there are child appropriate vampires now. I mean, and the Count, Sesame Street, my icon.
And we've discussed our love for the Count on this show. So the Macy's Day Parade, as always, there was a Sesame Street float. And I did cry when the float began. And then I did sob when I saw the Count in a hat and mittens. That was a little bit too much for me that morning. It was so pleasant.
I went to our Dollar Tree today and they had Sesame Street like felt masks for all of the characters. And I really had to talk myself out of buying one and wearing it to the show.
Oh, I so wish you had.
I was like, I need these.
I wish you had and just come on wearing it and not said anything. Because I wonder how long it would have taken for us to be like, Alexis, did anyone tell you? You still look like Cookie Monster.
And that's exactly how Liz would have said it.
Always warm and friendly, never accusatory behind the scenes. It's always, listen, I just want to make sure you know before we start.
Right, yeah.
You have a Cookie Monster mask on your face. And if that's the choice you would like to make this evening, I support. Major shout out to my new playlist title. Edward Cullen is a mirror ball. I did not think I was going to make Twilight playlist after this show, but I will. Check After Party Show on all platforms. Tomorrow we will exclusively drop the link there. Thank you so much. And also to JJ's comment, we do have Hotel Transylvania as vampire representation.
Yes.
Has anyone seen those movies? Because I have not. I just have had them on my McDonald's bag.
I've seen half of one of them.
That makes you our expert.
Thank you so much.
Marissa, what was your Fang and Apple? And
Um,
also, please tell me which one is the positive and the negative.
Okay, I think I'm gonna say that the apple is the positive. And for me, it was just nostalgic thrills. I just like my heart was aflutter. I felt such joy, and I just had a great time watching it, rewatching it, and like not feeling that shame about liking things, even when they're bad. To that point, my fangs, which is my negative, is everything Alexis said about like the whole messaging and whatever they were trying to do with that. And also the fact that every character is like half of a person. Like they almost have a personality. It's like they have some identifiable things. Like, you know, Alice is like small and cute and like sort of like a ballerina. And Bella is like clumsy and awkward and like, what? But like they're not real people and they don't act like real people. And yeah, it's that it's just not written very well.
JJ has introduced this trend into my life where he compares character development to Anna Flores from 911. So occasionally I'll get like so-and-so still better character development than Anna. And I was going to do a rating for tonight's show of like all of these characters against Anna Flores. But then I was like, the majority of these characters don't have better character development than Anna Flores.
Nobody learns a lesson ever.
Here's a thought-provoking question. Does anyone learn a lesson in this entire series?
No, they are exactly the same characters at the beginning of Twilight as they are at the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2. Except maybe Edward tolerates Jacob.
Okay.
That's it.
I was also thinking perhaps Edward, except I would argue New Moon was his attempt at character development. And then he's like, oh my God, I was wrong. But I don't think that's character development. I think she told him very clearly multiple times in this movie, do not leave me ever. And specifically in the hospital scene, she goes, you can't leave me ever. And then he did. So it's more of like a, you don't listen with your ears, Edward. You're a vampire. Your ears, like you can still hear, like you can still understand when she says, don't leave me. That does clearly state, do not leave me. So, and then my point on Jacob is, did he really grow or was he just in love with Bella? Because I think...
No, Jacob didn't change at all. No.
But we are meant to think he did, I think, in Breaking Dawn when he's like, I'm leaving the pack and I'm going to protect the Cullens. And it's like...
Yeah.
Bestie.
No.
I think you can make an argument. I don't know that I would, but I think that you could make an argument for Rosalie. Because I think Rosalie is someone that goes from like hating Bella to realizing that really what she hates is like what Bella represents. And so trying to protect Bella so Bella can get what she wants because of that. I don't know that I would necessarily say that is like change, but I think if you're going to make an argument for anybody, Rosalie would probably be.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like because it's essentially the same story 4 times that like everyone has to go back to 0 at the end of every, like nothing really happens. Let's be real.
Let's think about it as we move through. I think you're all correct. I agree with all of this. I'm stumped. Okay, this is going to be the dialogue in the back of my head as we try and keep moving through these conversations. So let's revisit later on, maybe as we go. Let's talk about some standout quotes from this film. The whole movie is a standout quote. Honestly, every line just gets more and more unbelievable.
Yup.
Hi, Mac. Glad to see you in the chat with this absolutely sane take. Yeah, groundbreaking. We're really... my brain feels like it's fried up based on the idea of anyone having character development in the series. So I need to just like park that and come back to it. Standout quotes. Okay. I want to start by asking a question. I am not Team Edward or Jacob. I am team another character in this movie. And would anybody else like to put their flag in the ground of team another character in this movie before we go any further?
You're Team Charlie.
Well, not totally correct.
Okay.
But also not totally wrong. I am team 2 people specifically. One is Charlie. The other is Carlisle. And I would say Carlisle is Charlie. And I think you're Team Alice. Are you Team Alice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alexis?
Okay, first, I have a lot of questions about Carlisle in this movie. Would you like me to save them until our next segment?
No, I wouldn't. I would take it out right now.
Okay.
We haven't said a single quote yet. This is supposed to be about quotes. What are we doing?
Carlisle, okay? My flag's been put in the ground. Alexis?
Okay, well, 2 things. First, I was going to put this in the doc and I didn't, so you're going to get it live.
Great.
But I distinctly remember watching a late night interview with the man that plays Carlisle.
Peter Facinelli.
And somebody asked him, like from the audience, if he played vampire. Presumably with his wife. I don't think 16-year-old demisexual Alexis got that.
No.
Like last night I realized that's what that was a reference to. But then he said, no, but I play doctor. And I just need to know if anybody else watched that interview or if it was only 16-year-old Alexis.
It was only you, bestie.
I did not watch that interview.
Okay.
And I can't believe you had to voice that live on air for me to process with all of you. Next question, please.
Next. Okay. So we make a point that Carlisle is a surgeon, right? Charlie says it's great that a surgeon moved, like his wife wanted to move to this podunk town so we could get the surgeon.
Yeah.
But he is doing general rounds in the ER.
And identifying dead bodies.
Yeah.
To jump in real quick. I have a problem with this, but not for the same reason Alexis has a problem with this. This is a town of population 3,000. How the hell do they have an ER? There is no way that they have an ER. Maybe an urgent care. Absolutely not. And my follow-up to that is, Alexis, in a town that small, there is only one doctor. There is a singular doctor. They have to do all the medical things.
Yeah.
And that is why.
I feel like then you say that. I feel like you say doctor. You don't say, well, it was so great for this town to get a surgeon.
Yeah.
And then because I was not
Yeah.
surprised that he was a doctor and a coroner. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, whatever, that makes sense. But to type him as a surgeon, and then this man, like, all these nurses are like, Surgeon Carlisle's coming to the ER to do rounds. I'm like, what the hell?
And also, do we see him perform surgery?
Never.
Anyways, that is all.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye, Sly. Thank you for. I love when Sly does this to us. I knew it was gonna happen.
They're here purely to yell about Washington State. I know it.
Oh yeah, Alexis. Okay, so I have a rational and a non-rational answer. The rational answer is I would assume, based on our good friend Sarah Elizabeth _talks, that who has been doing a deep dive series into everything Stephanie Meyer did not research for this movie, that she probably,
which is the entire state of Washington.
She did not research anything in the creation of this series, that she probably thought surgeon was an interchangeable word, or she could use it like an interchangeable word. However wrong that is. However, I don't want to go with that answer. I want to go with my answer, which is my deeply rooted conspiracy theory about Carlisle. Okay.
Oh God.
And I have nothing to base this on other than my thoughts right now. Are you ready?
No.
Okay, well, you're going to get it anyway. So you know how, like, the graduation cap, like, painting, which implies that they are moving every, like, let's say 6 to 7 years, just like you can tack on a little bit of time after graduation before people start to notice, right? So every like 5 to 10 years, they're making a move. My theory, and they have to go to places where there's not a lot of sunlight, okay? My theory, Carlisle is intentionally picking rural communities that he can fund the build of emergency rooms in. So he's like, oh, where's a town that could really use an ER? We're going to go there. I'm going to spend a few years. I'm going to build one. I'm going to get them up and running. I'm going to train a bunch of people. We're going to get nurses going. And then when we dip, they will have an established medical center. And that is his contribution to the world.
He is a philanthropic vampire white savior.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's his whole thing.
Jumping from town to town.
Yep.
Building ERs.
Yep.
Perfect. I love it. That's the answer I needed.
Yeah.
My answer is that a surgeon is higher status than a general practitioner. So like it's makes them sound fancier and thus has more of an explanation as to why they're so fucking rich. Like
I would like to believe that Carlisle literally understands every single possible medical specialty because he does not sleep. And he's been alive forever. So he has seen the evolution of modern medicine in real time. So he could do any specialty he chooses.
yeah. Oh, you said that, and now I'm trying to remember how old he is. I think he's like, no, he was in the Volturi for a while.
He was.
I think he's like 1700.
Oh, is he? How old is this man?
No, not him is
How
1700s,
old
but I
is-
think he like was turned in the 1700s.
Carlisle was born in 1640 and was turned into a vampire in 1663 when he was 23 years old. You're telling me this man is supposed to be 23. Hold on, where's the photo of him that I uploaded?
I was only 30 years off.
He's supposed to be 23 years old.
Edward's supposed to be 17.
Wow.
Just a
Okay.
bunch of 17-year-old fresh-faced children.
Mhm.
I did not remember them looking that weird. I'm going to be real honest. Like that. On this rewatch, I was like, I have a lot of questions for everyone in this town.
They look even weirder in the movie than in that picture because in the movie it also has the blue filter on top of it.
Right.
They look
Like, look at them here, right? Look at this. Check this out,
Ah!
right? And then are you ready? Hold on.
It's so weird.
Yeah. I want to see some more photos from Twilight without the blue filter.
I mean, that whole situation was just a situation for me.
Slice back.
Hi, I have an important correction I have to issue. I did Google it. Apparently, they do have a hospital in Forks, which is absurd to me because I grew up in a town very similar to the size of Forks in rural Washington, and
Wow.
we only have an urgent care. We do not have a full hospital, but apparently Forks does. So I will to issue my formal apology.
No type of
for
apology
just
coming from
assuming.
Wow. Washington expert card revoked.
You know what? Honestly, I think that actually raises the status of the card since I did issue a correction on the record. To me,
I mean, they did research, which is much farther than Stephanie Meyer ever went. So
it's true that we just did more research right now.
Absolutely did.
The creation of the book. Okay. I have a lot more to say about Carlisle, but I'm going to stop so we can talk about standout quotes because we have 7 conversation themes outside of these quotes that we also want to talk. I think 7's stretching it, but I digress. Marissa, would you like to share a quote? Let's try and go through these.
Yeah. I would like to give a precursor to my list that these are not so much the quote itself, but it's the way that they are delivered that plays on a loop in my brain and has for the last over, I don't know, 15 years. So first up, is she even Italian? Just
camp.
Perfect.
Camp.
Perfect.
Yeah. Alexis.
What are my hang on. Unprepared. I thought you were going next.
No, you're all good.
Got it. Let's see what I put here. Oh, green. Green is what? Good. Let's go.
Science teacher icon.
There were a lot of really direct statements made in this movie that as I was watching, I was like, Alexis would love these people in real life because they are say it as it is, no subtext post.
I think it cracks me up because when I think about, read, say, or hear, green is what? Good, let's go. It is not in this context. It is not in let's go on a field trip. It is in a different context entirely. And so it makes me the giggles.
Okay, I have so many quotes. The first is Billy and Charlie. One of them, I think Billy's the one that says, nice ride. And then Charlie's like, good one. And it was not a good one. And it was a very dad jokey moment, but it was a standout moment to me because I do like how they have a friendship and that we see that is one of the only well-built relationships in this movie. And I do enjoy it.
Charlie has more realistic relationships with everyone in that town than Bella with literally anyone else.
Correct. Absolutely. Marissa, next quote.
Mike, my hero. How you liking the rain, girl? I have a list of people that when it rains in Chicago, I send that to immediately.
Brilliant. It is raining right now where I live, so I feel like I've just received that statement and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going to set an alert for when it rains in your city and I'm going to send it to you now too.
Beautiful. Especially because I get migraines when it rains, so I really would appreciate. How are you liking the rain, girl? I never enjoy it.
I need Melody and Brother Bobissa to be on that list of people that.
Oh, they are.
Okay.
Melody's number 1.
Alexis, please read your next quote.
Okay, my next quote is only on this list in my defense because it is just it is the Twilight quote. To me, that is this is one of the quotes that came out of the book that was on the t-shirt of every 40-year-old mom who shouldn't have been reading the book. If I'm going to hell, I might as well do it thoroughly.
But it's the whispery, gaspy voice. If I'm going to hell, I might as well do it thoroughly. It's what are you enunciate your words, Bella? Inner dialogue queen.
It's Edward.
Where does this take place in the film in your brain, Liz? This is Sunglasses Edward looking cool as hell, putting his arm around her.
What
in a leather jacket. Yeah.
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 And like the rest of the Cullens are sitting in Rosalie's convertible and staring at him. And he's like, if I'm going to hell, I'm gonna do it. Whatever.
Right.
And Emmett's arm is so long, and that convertible shot, like it is the length of the car.
I was thinking of the taxi scene of Bella in the taxi going to the ballet studio, where she has that really gaspy, whispery inner dialogue that makes her. She's like, "If I'm gonna die,
yeah.
Like you can't hear a word she's saying.
Yeah.
But no, you were right, and we do have a photo of the moment you're referring to.
Yeah, this is swag, Edward.
Oh my god, so
this is giving the 1975 8 tracks playlist in 2010. Yeah. Not that I would know anything about that. Okay, next quote. In the lab, when Edward comes back after a few sunny days and says, hello, and says in that really weird voice, and it's like the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life, that's when you know he's 100 years old, because he does say it like a little man going, hello, like, oh, let me tip a hat to you, my lady, hello. Yeah. Yep. Marissa, next.
Again, Jessica, my hero. The blonde one who looks like he's in pain. That's Jasper. It's just like, and it's extra funny because you know that he's literally physically in pain.
He's like,
I love that like context is not explored in the film. Like,
no,
it's barely mentioned that like he was the newest turn, so he's like struggling. Like they make him go to school when he's like about to eat someone.
I'm sorry. This whole movie, I was like, what the fuck is Jasper? Like,
if you will notice in the thumbnail for this week's episode, Jasper does not appear.
It's true. It's true.
We do not support.
We are not a Jasper household. And I will take this moment to plug one of my favorite TikTokers. Let me see if I can find the exact video. Yasmin Sahid, and her is at Lady Yasmina1. And she makes all of these, like, just did one about Wizards of Waverly Place, Marissa, like these like throwback videos that are so funny.
I mean, those transitions are iconic. Oh, so good.
But she did a whole Twilight series, and she does Jasper, and it's so accurate. I'll have to find it and send it after the show. It's hysterical. Yeah. Lady Yasmina slays.
Love.
Alexis, I know your list is short. Do you have any more quotes you would like to shout out, or shall we rapid fire through?
I will just say that my mom on a daily basis still says, Google it. Because of the scene in the greenhouse. Other than that, I have no quotes. You go for it, besties.
Marissa, let's rapid fire through these. What do you say?
Amazing.
All right. My next one is when they're in the midst of an argument and Bella goes, "Did you get contacts?" And he goes, "No." And then that's the end of it. And it's very bad. Next.
It's the fluorescence.
It's the fluorescence.
Oh. You stopped the van. You pushed it out of the way with your hand. I saw you. It's just like...
That was a really good impression.
It's the, like, there's urgency in her voice, but her eyes are dead. And that is not to say that is, let me be very clear. That is not to say that Kristen Stewart is doing a bad performance. Kristen Stewart is giving an excellent performance of how Bella Swan is written.
Absolutely.
She's being very accurate to who Bella Swan is. Bella Swan sucks.
And in a similar voice to what Marissa just described, when Edward like saves her from the weird dudes, and she goes, "You should put on a seatbelt. Or you should put your seatbelt on." And then he giggles and goes, "You should put your seatbelt on." And my note following that is, "I'm immortal, you stupid fuck." Because that's the subtext of him saying that to her. And I got a good chuckle out of that little joke. Marissa?
Oh, Bella, look, it's a worm.
That gave such would you still love me if I was a worm energy.
Yeah, the answer would be no.
But would you still love me if I was a vampire? Hell yeah. That's the whole movie summed up.
Yeah.
When they're doing like the iconic, like, say what it is, I'm a vampire situation. And then he just goes, you need to see what I look like in the sun. And then they start running. It's so funny. It's so funny. You need to see what I look like in the sun. I'm like, okay, Edward, calm down.
This is the skin of a killer, Bella. You have glitter on you sparkle like a diamond. You shine bright like a diamend, as Rihanna says.
Like diamonds in the sky. That's literally what inspired that song, I think.
100%. 100%.
Next.
Okay, this is when they come back from Port Angeles and they like drive past to the police station and Edward pulls in. He's like, that's my father's car. And Bella goes, whoa, what is going on? It's the weirdest delivery I've ever heard, and I'm obsessed with it.
Really? She was just surprised that a world-renowned surgeon was...
True. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And there's no context given. He doesn't say, like, the next corner is 4 towns over, so I came to look at the body. No. All he says is, I just examined the body, and we're just supposed to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the only person with a medical degree in the whole state.
Apparently. Okay, my last quote is when they're in Edward's bedroom and Bella says, Claire de Lune is great. And it's like, what?
That's not how she said it.
Oh, sorry, please.
Okay, so he's like, it's Debussy, and she's like, Claire de Lune, it's great.
Are you Kristen Stewart?
I've watched these movies so many times, you don't understand. Like, everybody was putting their notes in the doc, and I was like answering all their questions, like correcting them. Like,
true. Shout out to Sly, who also had a quote. Do you trust me? In theory. Slay.
Truly. Like, she skipped the red flags the whole movie, but in that moment, she's like,
Yeah. So I'd like to just take a step back and talk about why we picked this movie. And part of the reason why we picked this movie is because Sly had never seen it before. But also to say, Twilight is a horror movie. This is a horror movie. And all of us in our notes wrote, this is a horror movie so many times. And part of the joy for me of rewatching this movie was taking on the challenge of watching it with the expectation of it being a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I had a great time. And I don't like horror movies generally.
Yeah, it's when I realized that it's made like a horror movie, my whole perspective on it shifted, because I had the same opinion as you, Liz, that like it's really not as strong as the other ones, and like I wouldn't prefer it. I'd rather rewatch New Moon forever. But when you think about it as a horror movie, you watch it as a horror movie, and you like watch the directorial choices as a horror movie, it makes so much sense because it is not trying to sell you on the romance in the way the later films are. Like, New Moon completely ignores like all of the red flags, all of the like inappropriate, like unhealthy relationship dynamics. Like, this is the greatest love story ever told immediately when New Moon begins, but like, shit's not good, y'all.
Yeah. Alexis, anything you want to add? It is a horror movie, confirmed.
Confirmed. It's one of those like when I was talking to Sly about Fantastic Four, like there was a lot of discussion about like if they would have done this movie this way, it would have been an interesting movie. And I think a like dark, no holds barred horror movie Twilight would be a fantastic movie. Like, would be a good movie.
I do I would say the moment in New Moon when you realize that the tourists are going to be lunch is like full-fledged horror movie for half a second. Like they really do push it quite far in a quite startling way when you realize all these innocent people are like done for. I was permanently scarred watching that, like at far too vulnerable of an age.
Yeah, I mean, they're vampires, but like all of them have their moments. All of the films have their moments, but I feel like the later films only highlight the scary parts of the bad vampires.
Yep.
Whereas this one highlights how the Cullens are like creepy in a way that like we don't like. That's not a current that follows.
Yep. Absolutely. Speaking of the Cullens, wow, do they really pop off in their intros in this movie? Like, we really get the strongest possible introduction, specifically to Emmett, whose entire personality is just standing on vehicles as they move. Does he say one sentence in this film? Unsure.
I think he says like 4 words.
And the rest of the time, he's wearing a weird hat in a weird way and standing with his super long arms on a truck.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the SNL skit where they did the Avengers?
Maybe.
Which one?
The one with Jeremy Renner.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
To me, like they had this bit where like the goons were like jumping and like squatting, and that is what Emmett looked like. It looks like the SNL Marvel skit of like an
right
alien android riding the vehicle. Yeah. Hysterical.
Yeah.
One of the things that does happen in this movie, and I'm moving up this point because we have a minute to talk about it, in our introduction to the Cullens, is the baseball game.
Yeah.
And this leads us to a main point of media literacy that we've developed on this show, which is what, Marissa? Say it for the crowd.
Slay or not slay? I don't know what we're talking about.
Baseball is gay.
That's my thing?
No, I was just asking you to say it because we had a discussion about it pre-going live. Baseball.
I was not briefed on this.
Oh, were you not there? Who was I talking to? Sly?
I think it was just Sly.
Oh, was it you? Sorry, I thought it was Marissa.
We agree that baseball is gay. It wasn't a conversation. I think it was just.
No, I agree. I just
okay. Well, I had a conversation
didn't know
with
what my
someone in the pre-show that baseball, High School Musical 2.
Oh,
the most incredible gay baseball sequence of all time.
Yes,
you get Alice's feisty little pitcher kick in this one. What's
queer
that
culture?
about?
Queer culture. That whatever that I don't know.
That
like fouette she does essentially.
And she does it every time. It's not just once, it's every pitch.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the whole thing is gay. Like I would have to rewatch it, but there is also a 911 Lone Star baseball game that in my memory was pretty not straight.
100% of A League of Their Own on Amazon Prime is canonically gay.
This catch, I mean,
it was charged. It was charged with something.
Mm-hmm. So I really do love. This is the most personality we get from anyone in the movie. Is this entire baseball sequence? It's a treasure.
The national pastime dancers, gay.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
There's just so much. I want to move to Alexis' point about the Twilight romance novel pipeline. Alexis, the floor is yours.
This was just such a moment. Like in my head, this is a cultural moment because I do not remember fanfic, like the fanfic to novel pipeline being like a known thing, like just an accepted phenomena until after the first couple Twilight fanfics became romance novels. And now it's like, okay, well, this Raylo fanfic is a romance novel, whatever. Like now, if a fanfic is taken off AO3, I've assumed that they've got a publishing deal and that they're turning it into like a romance novel. But at this time, like you were reading 50 Shades of Grey on the author's like own blog where they were also raising lemonade money for cancer. And then it was a romance novel. And it was like, oh, wait. And I just feel like that at least that came out of the Twilight books. And I just needed that point to be made is pretty much all of that. Yeah.
You have a list. Would you like to share?
Well, I feel like the list is longer than this. These were the ones that I knew offhand. She Who Shall Not Be Named, who we will not name. Terasumi, who turned a trilogy into a series that then had a sub-series that then had a sub-series. I cannot remember any of the titles, but the third sub-series is just a private boarding school academy for sex, and it's a thing that occurred. And then Christina Loren, who has written some of my favorite romance novels. Well, they have written some of my favorite romance novels. They are very sweet and fluffy now, but they started with Beautiful Bastard and Beautiful Bitch, which were separated out from the fanfic, which was entitled The Office, which had a hold on 15-year-old Alexis, who wanted to get quotes from it tattooed on her body. And she is really glad somebody talked her out of that decision. But that's all I have to say about that.
Now I need to know what quotes you're referring to. That's a post-show discussion, perhaps, unless you want to share.
No, it was Je ne regrette rien was like the theme of the book. And he gets it tattooed, and then I think she has it tattooed on her hip, and then he gets it tattooed on his shoulder or something. Mm-hmm. It was also the book that taught me fuck me heels were a thing at 15. Yeah.
It's impossible to talk about this series and not talk about the sex part of it, because it really did inform so much of like early 2010s sex and teen media culture. And it's so incredible to watch it now. Like, for me, having taken a break from Twilight I watched it when they were coming out. I don't know if I ever watched it again until like 2017 onwards, like almost like a 6-year gap. And even then I wasn't really watching them. They were just kind of on around me. Mm-hmm. But to see how far sex and teen marketed media has come in less than a decade.
Yeah.
Like, incredible. Because at the time, the way that the sex story is told in Twilight was like the only sex story really being marketed towards the demographic that was seeing the movies. Like, it was the only version of events. And now you have like queer media more visible than it's been ever marketed to this audience, like at the scale of different projects that are available. You have like other teen franchises with sex plot lines and subplot lines in them. It's just like mind-boggling. Yeah.
There is also something like so karmic to me about a woman writing a series around purity culture, right? Like from the perspective of like purity is good. And a bunch of women in their 30s, like recreating what we now know as the erotic romance novel via fan fiction based on that.
It's like come so far.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, like karma is a cat. I mean, it's a situation. It just
karma is a cat, quote. Yes. And I also, this transition to a point I wanted to make around like fan fiction culture and how Twilight had such a severe, like hard left turn in fan fiction culture. And like, this is something that was brought up earlier as well. But like, there are so many shows that in the 2000s and early 2010s, and so many franchises that had such a big stake in like that culture. Harry Potter was one of them and is kind of in a resurgence moment, but Twilight was one that came in and just like completely shattered the internet once again. And it's incredible to see how so many people of that generation who write now, like their first stab at having creative liberty was because of the vague rules of the Twilight universe and the vague research that was put into it, and people wanting to correct wrong narratives, people wanting to explore themes that weren't properly or fully fleshed out in the series, people that wanted to take side characters and put them in the forefront. Like the volume of like fanon, Rosalie, fanon, Alice, fanon sub-character stuff that's out there because of the way that women were written in the series. It's incredible. It's so fascinating. Like, where is the dissertation on it? I would like to read it.
And it's in my head, it was in such an in-between time. Like AO3 wasn't quite a thing yet. Like it was in the process of being a thing. So like I will never find the Twilight fanfic I read because it's in a bookmarks tab on a laptop that no longer exists, right? Because it was like sometimes they were on fanfiction.net, but sometimes they were on people's individual blogs. And like it just, I am sure I read thousands of Twilight fanfics. I cannot recall one where they were vampires. Like there was just this like huge, like you said, Liz, like these, you know, because characters are written this way, like we will fix it, but by making them humans. Like it's just.
Yeah. Or they're vampires, but there's no vampire plot to the story.
Yes.
Zero. It's never mentioned other than Edward does not sleep. Like that's the only vampire quality that makes the fanfic.
I will also just say, so you all mentioned on my behalf the 911 Dispatch podcast last week, and their 5.5 hour interview, 5.5 hours, something like that, interview with, let me tell you about my feels, who wrote some really fantastic vampire AU. But she talks in the interview about like the months that she researched vampire lore to write that fic. And I'm like, and yet... no research went into.
Regardless of the incredible research scene we have of Bella on the computer typing, looking up vampire lore.
I was offended that you equated that to my own research.
Okay, let's go to the notes. So in my notes, because I want to go on the record with the exact thing I wrote down during this scene, which is. Hold on. Is this what Alexis looks like doing research? Can Alexis tell us how accurate Bella's research methodology is? And then I almost deleted it, but I made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to delete any of my notes while I watched this movie. That was my contribution to this episode was notes that were not filtered. So I did not erase it. And I immediately go to a new bullet and write, no, I think this is actually how Marissa... this is actually Marissa writing her thesis. New bullet. Marissa, is this what you looked like writing your thesis?
It's not what I looked like writing my thesis. I mean, there were probably more accurate search terms used, a more expansive database list, but yeah, good old Google.
Good old Google. Love. Oh my God. Okay. I had a moment watching this film because like I said, this is back to the fanfic point. I have not rewatched this specific movie in one sitting, in full, beginning to end, probably since it came out. And I was watching this movie and going, oh dear God, this explains so much because, and I'm going to admit this fully on air. Wow. I had like a whole spiritual awakening around like why, like I love the like reading fanfic specifically that takes characters and puts them into hospital scenes as a point of like character development, not to go back to the character development argument, but the scene in this movie with the accident and then it's these 3 idiots in the hospital, and we never get any goddamn context for why Rosalie is here other than she's mad.
Yeah,
we never know.
Wants to yell at Edward.
She just wants to be mad. Oh, hello.
Hello, can I out you publicly on air, Liz? Am I allowed to do that?
No, tell me in the private chat what you want to say, and then maybe you can.
This is hysterical to me
because I take over.
Every
time I have been asked that question, I've been like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Okay, fine. Go ahead. Say it. I don't know what you're about to say also, so I'm very scared.
I once asked Liz for a very specific era of fanfics to be sent to me just so I could get a sense for the vibe. And the fic she sent me had them ending up in the hospital multiple times.
Many
times. 5 times with
Yeah.
life-threatening injuries.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're gonna make it. 5 times
yeah.
within this one fic. And I'm just saying it's very on brand for Liz.
And I never knew why, because I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. I don't do well with medical shows generally. I get too queasy watching them. My anxiety doesn't handle them very well. It's because of this movie. I was watching that sequence and seeing my whole AO3 history flash before my eyes. I saw this man and I literally was just I had to pause the movie. I had to fully pause the movie and I was like, oh, this is why. This is why I go back to this trope every single time. So that was a fun realization. I am glad I finally rewatched this movie. I have some answers about myself I never had previously.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you so much. So that's my call to action to everybody is to just watch movies that came out in your most impressionable years and see what resonated and you found a little home in your subconscious that you did not know. You did not know that it was going to be there, and now it is.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway from this movie. Had a much bigger impact on my reading habits than I ever thought it did. And speaking of that, let's talk about this guy who, for all intents and purposes, I forgot was in this movie.
That's true.
I really forgot Jacob was in what I really in my head was he's not in this movie. He starts in the series in New Moon. I could not believe when he came in the first 5 minutes of the movie. I was like, I don't know where I thought he was, but I didn't think he was around at all.
15-year-old little baby Jacob.
There he is.
There he is.
I was shocked. But he was quite sweet in this movie.
Yeah.
The least problematic appearance by him in the series, perhaps.
Oh, by far. Yeah.
Yeah. Poor guy. I wish that he had better writing behind him. I really do.
Yeah.
Yep. Moving on. So that was my take on this movie. Anyone else have any fun realizations while they were watching this, Marissa?
Did I? I guess my main thing was I was only creeped out by Edward this time. Mm-hmm. There was actually that's not true. That's not true. I was so creeped out by him. I was like, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. He has been watching you sleep for the last couple months without you knowing. But then it immediately goes into this adorable little montage. And I'm like,
right,
fuck it. I'm so on board immediately. It's horrible. So I guess my realization was, it still works on me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm obsessed. I'm fully obsessed.
Once Team Edward, always Team Edward, I guess.
Absolutely. Alexis, I don't know if you had any jarring realizations watching this film. I feel like you knew what you were in for.
Sorry, my microphone has decided to quit working. I will say I had the same realization as Marissa. I remember in high school being very much a Team Edward person. I will argue with you about it, Team Edward person. And this movie, I was just like, wow. This is This is not cool. And I don't know if that's on growth or just being in like not a shitty relationship for the first time in my life. I don't know which one it is, but I was like, wow, that is
Could we file a class action lawsuit against Stephenie Meyer for making us think that gaslighting was acceptable? Because that was the foundation that we all had to work with. Like,
well, in stalking, how many times, Elizabeth, have I been like, what is wrong with me that this is a thing that happens?
It's Edward Cullen's fault.
And Jacob in later films.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the like possessive, like protection energy that was like filtered through a lens of love to be like, this is what adoration looks like.
And I mean, I do love some possessive bastard energy. I'm starting to realize, I'm starting to wonder, rather, if this is where it started, or if later in the Will Throw the After Party, like, trajectory, we will visit some other childhood movie, and I'll be like, oh, wait, no.
This is like free therapy. I love it for us. Honestly, this is great. I want to do a bit of a deep dive. Everyone knows every week we do rapid fire slays. But before we do rapid fire slays, I would like to do the not slays of this movie, because there is so much of this movie that just makes you go, huh? So we're going to start. Marissa, I'm going to put you full screen for a moment and let you introduce your background to everybody, which is our first not slay of the day.
This is the meadow scene, which is a celebrated piece of cinema history. It was like the most romantic moment there had ever been in a book ever. They just lay there and they stare at each other. And what we're not talking about is how fucking awkward it is. They just like plop themselves down on the ground, lay on the floor, and their bodies are directly to the sky, but their heads are directly to each. Oh,
they look. Alexis and I both had this note. They look like the bodies of a crime scene, like drawn out in chalk.
Yeah. And it doesn't get better because the meadow is like a character in the Twilight books. And like there are more, spoiler alert, that's where they, is it where they get engaged? No, that's where he tried, and she's like, no, whatever. There's several more scenes in the meadow.
He gives her the ring in the meadow in the movie, does he not?
No, it's when they were.
Oh, yeah.
No. But there are like several scenes in the meadow, and none of them are natural. They're all so awkward.
The irony of a vampire looking like a dead body to me also, like that was not lost seeing the scene. I was like, bestie, we get it, you're dead. Like, it's fine.
But like, how is that? I perch in chairs like a bird. I have never sat in a chair like a normal person in my life. And that to me looks incredibly uncomfortable. Like I grade weird.
I mean, what are Edward's?
And what kills me is that they're flat on their backs.
Yes.
While they're doing it. Like if they were curled to the side, as I demonstrate live, if they were curled to the side, it wouldn't be as weird. But they're like.
It's like they're like mid-turn, but that's how they're resting.
Yeah, it was like they were turning and then rigor mortis set in. It is the most bizarre. It's so weird.
It also really hits the note of purity culture that they have so much space between them after they just admitted they can't live without each other. That's how you're going to lay beside the person that you're, what did she say? I'm irrevocably in love with him?
Unconditionally and irrevocably in love with you.
That's what you lay like beside the person you feel that way about?
Yeah.
I have JJ, no!
Oh, no.
No, JJ.
Please explain. explain the physics of this to the class, please? I'm gonna have to attempt to force my legs to go in this awkward position and see how humanly possible it is.
Oh, I mean, it's also just like they are fully on the ground. Like, what? Like, presumably it's also wet because it like is a town where it always rains. Like, wet grass. None of it.
Into your wet jeans.
Not a sleigh. Not a sleigh.
No.
Okay. I would like to move on to the next not sleigh.
Sure.
Edward plays the piano. Badly. He's 100 years old and he still is that bad at playing piano, and the man can't sleep and he knows everything there is to know about the high school curriculum. So he does not need to study, nor do his grades even matter. Okay.
Literally his whole thing is like he stays awake and plays piano every night. That's how Rob Pattinson chose to play the piano.
Hand doubles are a thing. Like, where was the hand double, like, pulling off some incredible work? Because that was a crime. A crime.
Yeah.
Not a sleigh.
No.
The lighting in that scene was a sleigh. It was nice. But too much light for a vampire also. So I was like, why would you have so much direct light going on him? But maybe it's because she knows he's a vampire at that point. So it doesn't matter if he's sparkly in his own home. I digress.
That's why they live so far into the forest. It's because they can do whatever the hell they want there.
Mm-hmm. Are the next not sleighs slies, or are they any of yours? I don't know who wrote these next ones, but I'm happy to read them for the class.
I added no not sleighs.
I add nothing.
Then these are from Sly wrote these, and I shall read them to everyone because I agree with them. Not a sleigh, horrifically misrepresenting an already marginalized culture.
That is 100% a Sly note. You really thought somebody else may have added that into the doc?
I didn't want to speak for someone on screen.
I would have written that, but I did not.
We all agree with it. It's endorsed. Gets the Alpine stamp of approval. Next.
Yes.
Not a sleigh. Butchering all of geography.
I was hoping this one was written by you, Liz, like in some twist that you were making a statement about.
I wish.
They're back.
Hello.
Okay, so yes, both of these notes were mine, but I also need to direct you to my note about geography, which prompted me to add this to not a sleigh, which was, where did it go? I wrote, plot twist, and then I put a sub-bullet saying, I'm sure I would have guessed the mom wasn't there if they weren't so frivolous with geography the entire rest of the movie. I totally bought that mom just like immediately transported back from Florida because they were immediately transporting to very far directions the entire rest of the movie.
And it was very unclear. I had a moment where I was like, oh, hello, cactus. Cacti aren't in Washington. And then I realized, like, no, they're in Arizona or whatever. Like, they're already there. Yeah.
I also wrote this note. I wrote, I'm so confused by the timeline and geography here. Did they drive straight from Forks to Arizona? That's a 25-hour drive. I looked it up.
So there's that, and that happens later. But my first point of that was in the mill. It was like Gresham Mill, and I went, are we in Oregon now? Like, Gresham's like by Portland? I was so confused. And then immediately after that, they said, the dad said he had to go to Mason County, which is over by Olympia, which is around an entire mountain, regardless of what direction you're going. So even if you go north or south, it's like about 3 hours. Why does he have any jurisdiction over fucking Mason County? Anyways, I have lots of feelings about the geography.
If we're gonna get into jurisdictional policing, I have some shit to say. So we should maybe pass by that one.
Pass the baton. I love it. I do want to say that in terms of geography, that was a sleigh. Canada and taking the ferry to Canada. I was waving the Canadian flag. Hell yeah, come up north, vampire. And they talk about Canada a lot in this series.
They
So-
That
do.
makes sense because
do.
it's just a little
It's right there.
hop,
It's a
skip,
sleigh.
and a jump.
It's a sleigh. I do love. So that
I
is
will
the only
say-
sleigh they do get on the geography point.
Port Townsend, also a sleigh. Like that makes sense. It's like an hour east. Like that's reasonable for like going shopping or whatever.
Mhm.
Every other geography note in this movie, I had so many questions.
Okay, I have a question for you though, Sly.
Okay.
Did this feel like Washington to you? Because there were moments of this to me that felt very Appalachian. And I'm like, I don't know if that's because there's like a similarity in rurality, or if this movie just didn't depict Washington well.
That's a good question. I don't know a lot about like the Appalachian vibe, but it tends to be pretty similar to like PNW rurality.
Okay.
You did have a note about greenhouses. Yes, we do have greenhouses because nothing will grow otherwise. Like that was on brand. Other than that, it was just so incredibly blue that it did not feel like Washington, because like Washington is so green. Like it's so green that like having that like desaturated filter over everything instantly if it was like a gray, if it was like a cloudy gray, I would have been more down for it. My other note was in one of the like the shots of the like landscape, I think it was somewhere around the lake, there was like so obviously like fake fog and like clouds in the sky, and I was like, at least make the fog look realistic.
Honestly, the fog bugged me so much. We have so much fog here. I've seen every kind of fog you can imagine. I was like,
We get fog. That's not what fog
it was not a sleigh. It was not a sleigh. The fog did not slay. No.
You know what is a sleigh though?
Tell me.
The opening with the deer being in full color, and then the fog, like the clouds come in, and then you come over the clouds and it's immediate blue filter over the main title. Like,
It's true.
that's fun. That's camp.
This is going to be a long episode of the show because we have so much more to talk about. We haven't even gotten to the wigs yet. So buckle up, friends. This is going to be a longer than normal after party, I feel.
Bye.
Bye, Sly. Next. Horrible scenting strategy. When they're going through and they're like, Rosalie, rub up against a fucking tree like a bear. Like, Bella owned so much clothing. You couldn't have held a sweater and like,
Yeah.
why did they put it all on one jacket that Rosalie was wearing? It like they all could have grabbed something.
Edward was in her house. Like, just take her laundry basket.
Take her bed sheets.
So true. Take a pillowcase.
And also, like, hang things in the trees. Like, camouflage things. Why not?
Well, JJ's pouring a second drink. We're in for the long haul, folks.
Next. Okay. Alexis, I need your true crime brain on this point because I forgot that the excuse they gave for Bella being in the hospital was she went to their hotel, fell down 2 flights of stairs, and went through a window and broke her leg. Why couldn't they have just said she was in a car accident? Wouldn't everyone have bought that immediately? And like the vampires are strong enough to beat up a car and make it look realistic. No?
For sure. I mean, they could crash the car and survive it. Like,
Also, and I hadn't thought of this until you brought it up recently, Liz, or until you brought it up now, but there is like a whole true crime epic about two women falling down staircases and dying.
Oh my
It
god.
was called a documentary series called The Staircase. It later became like an HBO drama, also called The Staircase.
starring Colin Firth.
Yes, and like
Which is weird, but
the whole thing is that nobody believes that a woman could have fallen down the stairs and sustained the injuries that she sustained. And sorry.
No, it's okay.
And like for that to be the plot.
Just pick your microphone up from under your. There you are. Keep going.
For that to have been the plot is just like.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you also have backing proof that that was the worst story they could have possibly told. And then the way they edited it with like the flashbacks of like what was actually happening to her, I was like, geez, like you've been around for hundreds of years, and that is what you've had hundreds of years to figure out how to make a good excuse.
Yeah. Carl has had 400 years to come up with a feasible explanation. Like 400 years of medical experience too. Like,
how many car accidents has he seen? Like, I think, yeah, they really did her dirty with that. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the final not slay. And Alexis and I both had this in our notes. So Alexis, I am going to invite you to speak to this point. The epic finale of them dancing at prom. She really thought he was going to bite her at prom. The most excruciating experience that she could.
One, she's already felt what the venom feels like. And like, I don't know why she was like, yeah, at prom in the middle of this gazebo. But also, can I just say, the book, when you read it for the first time, really makes you think it's going to happen. You're like, oh, amazing. And then it's done. And then she's a vampire for the rest of it. Awesome. Like, it's so funny.
It's also like, if he was just like whispering in her ear and kind of like put his like lips down her neck at a prom, I don't think that would be, no one would think anything of it. They'd be like, oh, PDA, whatever. But he puts her in like a full dip and she's like, like it's so dramatic.
While she has a broken leg, which I can say from experience throws your balance off so much. She's already like the clumsiest person alive. Like,
Alexis,
truly.
I know, I need your thoughts on this one. Sorry, bad timing. I know.
No, I'm just trying. It will keep going off unless anyway. No, it was weird. It's weird that they're that alone at prom. That they're like the only two out there in a gazebo. Like that would not have happened at my high school. It was an impressive dip that I didn't believe. Like somebody who was so clumsy, they bought a story that she tripped down 2 flights of stairs and like fell through a window, could pull off a dip that like extreme for that long.
I know.
And then that you're like, this man who won't kiss me because he's so afraid that he will eat me is going to turn me into a vampire in the middle of
who's trying to stay so covertly like undercover about the fact that he is a vampire. And like,
also, there's only 3,000 people in the town. How many people can there be at the high school? Like, it's not like there's like 500 people at prom and like no one's gonna miss you. Like,
and they're perfectly lit. Like they weren't in the shadows. Like they were in the middle of a gazebo,
like a
fully
fully
lit
gazebo.
And she's like,
yeah.
No. Here's a great point from Sly. Why did she have a boot on when the injury was to her thigh?
I don't know.
This is a great question. Also, the medical diagnosis was that she broke her leg. So if you break your leg, why would they put you in a boot? Like, shouldn't her leg be wrapped? No, Alexis says no.
No.
Alexis is shaking her head at the ghost that is messing up her electricity.
I love it.
I only had like the bandage wrap splint thing for like a week, and then they put me in a boot immediately.
Okay. So a little bit realistic.
But also like the fact that she's walking on it already has always confused me, because like how many weeks is it till prom. Like, it can't be. They were already shopping for dresses. Everyone had dates. She
Well,
she moved in March.
They do clarify later in the series. Time stands still, beauty for all she is.
Well,
do you know what I'm talking about? Miss Slay of the Century, love you for 1,000 years, love you for 1,000 more.
Oh,
all along I believed I think that song is actually canon to the Twilight series. So maybe time just stood still.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those, like, you just gotta say thank you and move on because it will never make sense.
And that's the transition to wigs. Please walk us through some wigs. I know we're at the end of the episode, but I would just, the floor is yours. Please direct us.
Okay. I wrote so many notes and then I didn't organize them at all. Okay. Where do we start? Immediately we have when we meet Billy and Jacob. Jacob's wig is a crime.
Here's the later wig, which
when he showed up at prom, I wrote, Jacob, you look like someone's Aunt Lisa. Like, it's the hairline is so harsh and the part is so small that it's just, and it's, I don't know. There were so many other options. Also, it has like layers cut into it. Okay. But his introduction, I'm trying to find the note from it. Oh, where is it? Oh, yes. Her hair is so good. His hair is so bad. Bella's hair is like gorgeous. And it's got like barrel curls and it's like billowing. It's Kristen Stewart's natural hair. But like, she's supposed to be like really insecure and like feel ugly and like small and dumpy and like boop, boop, boop. I'm awkward and nobody will want me and blah, blah, blah. And she has the like Tresemme commercial, like blowing in the wind, gorgeous hair.
Yeah.
And he looks like someone's Aunt Lisa.
Trying to find an example.
Next hair note.
Yeah, none of the examples we have, you can see it. But in the baseball scene, you do. Oh my God, what is this, Marissa?
Oh, that I needed to talk about Rosalie's hair in the baseball scene. Rosalie's hair in the baseball scene is a crime to like consistency. It is full gorgeous barrel curls half the time and complete just beach waves, Nikki Reed's natural hair texture the rest of it. Like like gorgeous barrel curls right there, you see. And half of the baseball scene, her hair is fully beach waves, like natural, like normal hair texture.
Yeah.
And it's totally a thing of like, yeah, you can see here. Look at that. That's just normal wavy hair.
Yep.
That's the thing that bothers me.
frustrating.
That's just her hair. That's not even a wig, which is the hard part. Where are my other hair notes?
Here's we haven't even mentioned Anna Kendrick in this movie.
Anna Kendrick is so slay.
So slay.
Do we have any pictures of the baddies? Because the James wig is
no, I don't think we do.
Upsetting. I tried to find like a a character description of him, like that talked about him having like a ponytail or long hair or whatever. Couldn't find it. So I don't really know why he has long hair, why that was a thing that he needed. I think it might have something to do with him, like, I don't know, having military history. I really don't remember.
We can talk about Jasper's hair in this scene because it is so tragic.
It's so bad. Oh, I had a note about this. Jasper, this is in all caps, just so you know. Jasper, your hair is as bad as your personality.
Amen.
He has like, they gave him Jackson Rathbone like frosted tips, essentially. It's like chunky highlights. I
Hate it.
don't know why they did that to him.
You can kind of see in the back of this scene too. He's got the highlights again.
Yeah, the blonde one who looks like he's in pain. We also have to talk about Esme's hair. Esme's wig is a crime. I got a picture of her somewhere. Where is it? Oh, here. That is the wiggiest wig I've ever seen. And also, why the color? I don't really understand why that was the color that they went with. It's not, I can't remember this actor's name. It's not her natural hair color. It's a whole thing. Honestly,
can I make a point about this wig?
Yeah.
Remember last week with the Princess Diaries, how I was complaining that the best friend was saying she was blonde when she just had massive chunks of blonde in her brunette hair?
Yeah.
This is more blonde. I don't think Esme is blonde, but in this scene, she is way more blonde than that girl was in the Princess Diaries at all. And my sub point of this photo is this is the most 17 that Edward comes off in the entire franchise. This pose.
Yeah.
To me, Bella looks like a more believable vampire in that photo.
Oh, T. Yep.
Than Esme and Edward. Esme's hair to me also looks like it's one of those wigs that's attached to the hat.
Oh. Slay.
Honestly, if you want like a real true deep dive into all of this hair, all of these wigs, the account Liz has plugged several times, who used to be Twilight Talks. I don't really know what the new name of that account is. Sarah Elizabeth
_talks.
Yeah. She has a whole series about all of their wigs, all of the hair, essentially doing the thing where I talk about hair in the MCU. She did it first. That's why I started doing it. And that's why I will never touch Twilight, because she's got it covered.
And she also fills us in on what I think. This video is what made me rewatch any of these movies in the first place. Was her going up on my For You page and having the audacity to tell me that in Twilight, it is canon that vampires do not grow hair. So you have to imagine that all of these vampires are bald and that they choose the wigs they want to wear on every occasion.
Also, they fully have different hairstyles in every movie. Like half of them have different colored hair in every movie. So it's really, it's hilarious
the choices
to
that
me.
they make.
I think that tidbit of knowledge makes Jasper even more questionable as a person to me.
His hair throughout the series is ridiculous.
They never figured him out, nor should they have.
Honestly, with his background, I feel like it should have been a mullet.
Wow.
I mean, I wouldn't have enjoyed it, but I think they should have just went there.
Well, you're so right for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. We are trying to end the show at some point tonight. So let's quickly move into some rapid fire slays. How does that sound? I'm going to put the timer up. I'm going to share my screen again so you can see the timer, which I realize you can't. And we're going to see how many slays we can rhyme off. Let's say in under 2 minutes, just for the sake of ending the show. How does that sound? Alexis, this is your first time playing rapid fire slays. How do you feel?
I'm real nervous. I have no clue how this is supposed to go.
So we're all just going to say something that we think slayed in the movie. So you say the thing and you go slay at the end of it. And you give no context.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can give minimal context. Like the way we were doing with the quotes. Like it happened in this moment or this was the tone it was said in. But no context as to why it was a slay. It simply was.
Sure.
Okay. And if you run out of slays, it's fine. The others keep going until they end their slay list.
Perfect.
All right. Let's rapid fire slays Twilight edition. I don't have the strength to stay away from you anymore. Iconic slay.
This is a horror movie slay.
The truck slay.
Sly thinking that Robert Pattinson's neck moles were vampire bite marks. Slay.
Ketchup bottle icon Bella Swan, slay.
Like together, slay.
I'm the world's most dangerous predator, which made me think of me in the chip aisle at the grocery store. Slay.
Gaslight Central Edward Cullen, slay.
Rosalie wearing heels to high school, slay.
Bella not buying a book from Amazon when it was clearly listed and instead choosing to support a local bookstore. Slay.
Hi, Bella. I'm Alice. I think we're going to be great friends. Slay.
Bella maybe being a vegetarian. Slay.
When Bella's driving the truck away from the house and it's like smack and Edward's on the side of the truck and he goes, "Your father's going to forgive you. Let me drive." Slay.
Bella's lullaby is unironically a bop. Slay.
The fact that there is apparently hell raising in Forks. Slay.
Anna Kendrick, slay.
The bad vampires in the baseball scene entering by being pulled on a piece of plexiglass while pretending to walk in slow motion. Slay.
Bella holding up her notebook to avoid socializing with her high school classmates. Slay.
Blue eyeshadow, slay.
The most aesthetic ballet school I have ever seen. Slay.
Dad putting new tires on the truck. Slay.
All of Jessica's outfits, slay.
The campest wire work. Slay.
The gold onion. Slay.
Edward's driving being Robert Pattinson's Batman audition. Slay.
The grip flightless bird American wing had on me. Slay.
The amount of therapy Bella's going to need when she's older. Slay.
Boom! I love it. And that's 2 minutes, folks. Alexis, you killed it. Just like vampires would. Kill. Because that's what they do. Slay. I love a hard cut transition. Well, I've learned a lot this evening about myself and everybody else in the room. That's also a slay. Thank you all for watching Twilight. While we exit the show, why don't we plug what we think is going under the radar right now that everyone can watch over the next week? Slay.
Before you cut away, hi, Slay. I do have one final note on my thoughts on Twilight, and that is for a show that is set in rural Washington, there is not nearly enough of a very specific outfit, and that would be the hoodie with the reflective strips, jeans or Carhartts or whatever, work pants, and Romeo shoes. Like that is the like quintessential like rural Washington outfit, and the fact that we see 0 of them in this movie, not a slay.
Not a slay. Do you have a slay that you would like to put on the record?
Oh, gosh. Good question. I think all of my notes are a slay, but also the the pointed toe while pitching that is so like incredibly pointed of a pointed toe. Slay.
T. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. What I think is going under the radar this week, I have lots more that I could say to this point, but we need to end the show. Nothing really is the answer to that question. I'm watching Hallmark movies. I'm watching World Cup. I'm very busy. I think my TikTok is currently slaying. I am like sporadically posting 6 videos at a time and then you never hear from me again. So if you feel like joining in on the fun, producer Liz everywhere. And there's also some press pieces about Ticketmaster that I've been doing that I think are going to be coming out over the next few weeks. So as those are available, you will know. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. All I want to say. Marissa, your turn.
This is not under the radar at all. I hope everyone knows about it. But just a reminder, Keke Palmer is hosting SNL tonight. I will be viewing. You can follow me everywhere at Missa Bobissa. Maybe I'll post on TikTok this week. We'll find out.
Alexis?
I don't have anything under the radar this week, but I get to take over the show next week, right?
You do.
We're having this discussion live on air. So as this was pitched to me, as the instructions were explained to me, what I was supposed to do was pick a piece of media that relates to my brand on this show, like something I've mentioned on the show, that I wanted my co-hosts to watch. And it was originally, like the example that was originally used was Leverage. And as much as I trust you all, I don't trust anybody with Leverage when it's going to be discussed live on air. So that was a hard no for me. So instead, I decided that I would do the most chaotic thing possible, which was to ask everyone to watch 2 out of order episodes of a TV series that ran for 2.5 seasons. And that would be Timeless, which I have mentioned on the show, which features MCU sweater salesman Gordon Vishnich. So I am going to create a chaotic rapid fire summary of the entire series that I am then going to have Marissa post on social media so that everybody else can fill in the gaps between the episodes that I've chosen. But I don't want any of my co-hosts to look at it until after they...
I didn't know that part of it.
Oh, this is good. This is
after they watch the 2 episodes. So we're going to watch the pilot, easy enough. And then we're going to watch like the first episode of the next season. Actually, the second episode of the next season.
Slay. I'm in. This is going to be so fun.
Follow us at After Party Show SHO on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for that information coming at you soon.
Okay, so can I make one change to this?
Sure.
We shouldn't watch your summary until the show.
Perfect.
We should watch it live together for the first time with everybody next week.
I think that's great. And I would just like to say to our audience, if you're like, I'm not going to watch it next week because I won't know what's going on, neither will anybody but me. So
absolutely not. I was already thinking, I was like, I made 6 memes this week. I don't know what the fuck Timeless is about. What am I going to do?
I think you should just do Doctor Who memes.
That would be incredible.
I will say it is very memeable. I don't think you're going to have any trouble. As much as I love this show, I recognize that it is kind of a disaster.
I love it. I can't wait. We will have so much fun learning something new once again about ourselves and each other next week on We'll Throw the After Party. And please follow Sly Clone MC on all platforms and Point in Progress, MC University, all the places. You can now watch episodes of MC University featuring every single one of us. We've all been a guest and they are all fun little watches, listens. So you can check out MC University, Pip and Sly everywhere on the internet. Marissa, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, I was just going to ask Alexis if you know for our audience and also me, where Timeless is streaming.
I know it is streamable. I can't remember where they moved it to.
Okay.
It was on Hulu, but it had a couple switches. So I'll find it and I'll pass it.
Yeah, we'll include that in the summary. It'll be great.
Can't wait. So much fun. We will see you next week on We'll Throw the After Party. Bye, everybody.